Hello students, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we'll discuss the English section of Form C01, the ACT form that was administered in July 2020. We'll start with the first two English passages in this video and do the remaining passages in another video. So let's begin. Passage 1, a mouthful of music. Mouth music is the name given in English to the many ways by imitating the sounds of musical instruments with the human voice. So here we have to choose the correct preposition that can be used here. So I'm saying mouth music is the name given in English to the many ways of imitating the sounds, different ways of imitating the sounds. So this should be C. Forms of mouth music are performed around the world, but the genre is particularly popular in England, right? Because here I'm saying that there are many forms of mouth music that are performed, but the genre, the style of music, this particular style of music is particularly popular. I need to have a complete sentence. So I need a proper verb is, because one, it is the present tense and genre is singular. So is the best answer. In England, Ireland, and Scotland, in this Celtic region, lilting and jigging are two of the lively names used to refer to this musical form. Celtic mouth music exists to accompany dancing. So the rhythms and sounds are first class and the words take a back seat. The rhythms and sounds are more important than the lyrics, right? This question is about tone, right? When I write a formal passage, I need to make sure that my tone is always formal and the words that I use are formal, right? So words take a back seat or way more vital or a bigger deal, right? These are not formal ways of representing the idea that the rhythms are more important than the words themselves, the lyrics. So B captures that. Instead of using traditional lyrics, singers often produce nonsense syllables called vocables to represent specific instrument sounds, such as those of bagpipes or violins. Okay, so first let's do this. Now, I have two options here, right? I should be able to say my sentence without this information, because I'm saying instead of using traditional lyrics, singers often produce nonsense syllables to represent. So that's a complete sentence. But at the same time, I would like to let the reader know that those nonsense syllables are called vocables. So this then becomes additional information that I need to introduce into the sentence. And when I have additional information in a sentence, I need to put a comma before it and a comma after it, as option H does. So that is my right answer. Instead of using traditional lyrics, singers often produce nonsense syllables, comma, called vocables, comma, to represent specific instrument sounds, such as those of bagpipes or violins. The results are songs that rarely make literal sense, but nevertheless flow in a way that is easy to dance to, right? So that is easy to dance to. This is how we would complete the sentence, because I'm saying it flows in a way that is easy to dance to. One Scottish form of mouth music, Peart a Buil, is performed entirely in the Gaelic language and accompanies traditional dance steps. The often tongue-twisting lyrics require much practice to perfect. If the writer were to delete the underlined portion, the sentence would primarily lose a description that emphasized the difficulty of Peart a Buil, information about writing lyrics for Peart a Buil music, an indication of how often Peart a Buil is performed in the Celtic culture, an example of a training exercise Peart a Buil singers used to practice lyrics. So I think F is the good answer, because when I say the lyrics are tongue twisting, that kind of brings out the difficulty of Portable. It's not about how it is a part of Celtic culture, or how there is what kind of training exercise is used. The often tongue twisting lyrics require much practice to perfect. The greater challenge for many Portable singers, though, is learning when to breathe. So now, if you notice here, I have to choose the correct connector or conjunction. And my previous sentence is already talking about a difficulty with this kind of music, right? This is a difficulty. But then there is a greater challenge, right? So, but the greater challenge. I need something that conveys contrast. But the greater challenge is learning when to breathe. So, though, which conveys contrast, is actually a good answer, because I'm trying to say the lyrics are tongue twisting, but the greater challenge, though, is learning when to breathe. None of these other three convey that contrast, right? So, A is the best answer. The greater challenge, though, is learning when to breathe. A poorly timed breath might break a song's flow, interrupting the steady beat it relies on to help time their steps. So I'm talking about their steps, which means that the steady beat dancers rely on to help time their steps. So when you have a statement like this in which it is not clear what subject to choose, always look at the pronouns, right? I'm talking about a poorly timed breath that could break a song's flow, interrupting the steady beat. Who relies on this steady beat to help time their steps? So it has to be the dancers. Instruments were prohibitively expensive and thus scarce in isolated Scottish villages in order to fill the void. Okay, given that all the following statements are true, which one, if added here, would most effectively introduce? Potable was most likely invented out of necessity. Mouth music singers must have a good sense of rhythm. Celtic mouth music has influenced jazz scat singing. Another form of mouth music is the walking song. So I'll go with A here, right? Because I'm talking about why this was invented. This was invented out of necessity because instruments were prohibitively expensive and thus scarce in isolated Scottish villages. In order to fill the void, mouth music emerged, right? So this is the necessity that resulted in the invention of portable. Okay, the other thing I have to figure out is that I need to finish my sentence at villages, right? Because there are two sentences here. Instruments were prohibitively expensive and thus scarce in isolated Scottish villages. Sentence one. In order to fill the void, mouth music emerged and provided residents with the music they wanted for dancing. So obviously H is the right answer because I break my sentence at villages with a full stop and then start a new sentence. Okay, J is what is called a comma splice because I cannot join two independent sentences with a comma. So that's wrong. Okay, in G, first, I would like a comma after villages because I'm using a fanboys. I'm using a conjunction and so a comma would be nice, which is missing. The other thing is, I would not want to say and here, right? Because I can just say in order to fill the void because that clears what void I'm referring to, right? It refers to the void mentioned in the previous sentence. So I think just a concise answer with a full stop and in would be the best answer. Additionally, Portable gave anyone who didn't read music a way to learn and pass on traditional songs. Anyone who didn't who didn't read music, right? The continuing popularity of Celtic mouth music is testament to the vitality uh, of this musical form, right? Because I have to choose the correct pronoun. So the noun here is Celtic mouth music, which is singular. It's a singular noun. So obviously I need a singular pronoun. So it can't be them, obviously. Now itself and one is not correct in context, right? Because itself, for example, the dog bit itself, right? So it refers to the inanimate object, or generally for an animal also, to refer to its own self, right? Which is not what we are trying to say here. So this musical form is the best answer. The continuing popularity of Celtic mouth music is testament to the vitality of this musical form. In the 1990s, groups like Mouth Music from Scotland and the Cranberries from Ireland rose to fame, exposing with audiences. Okay, so exposing audiences worldwide to Celtic mouth music, right? Exposing audiences worldwide to Celtic mouth music. You expose someone to something. So the preposition is to, right? So this does not convey the correct sense. So the right answer is B. The band's celebrity continually survives as they combine traditional music with modern rhythms. The band's celebrity endures, right? Continually survives. That is redundant, right? Because if it survives, then why do I need to say continually? It remains in place. So it again still remains and carries on, redundant. So the best answer is J. The band's celebrity endures as they combine traditional mouth music with modern rhythms. Given that all the choices are accurate, which one most effectively expresses the idea that the bands incorporate both classic Celtic music and current influences into their music? So then it's A, right? Because I'm trying to say that they have traditional rhythms as well as modern ones. Continue to produce new music. That's not talking about traditional music. Concerts around the stage and sing. So none of those make sense. The best answer, which conveys the sense of combining traditional with modern, is option A. Okay, passage 2, making the desert bloom. More than 2,000 years ago, a people the Romans called the Garamantes created a complex civilization in one of the world's driest places. Okay, so here I'm saying a people the Romans called the Garamantes. So here I cannot have any punctuation because, for example, if I look at this, if I put a punctuation after Romans and after Garamantes, that makes this highlighted part additional information. And that's wrong, right? Because it is not additional information. I can't take it out of the sentence. And the remaining sentence doesn't stand on its own. I can't say more than 2,000 years ago, a people the Romans created. That doesn't make sense because who is the people? A people the Romans called the Garamantes, right? So J is the right answer. Option H is wrong because you cannot have a colon in the middle of a sentence. A colon always comes at the end of a complete sentence. And this single comma doesn't make sense because this single comma creates a break between the subject and the verb. And that is not correct. A single comma is only used when you're trying to separate a dependent clause or a modifier from an independent clause. So J is the right answer. More than 2,000 years ago, a people the Romans called the Garamantes created a complex civilization in one of the world's driest places, the Sahara Desert. Beginning around 500 BCE, they built towns and villages. They built towns and villages, manufactured cloth and jewelry, and traded throughout North Africa and the Mediterranean, right? So this tests what is known as parallel structure. Parallel structure means that if I have a list in a sentence, then every element of the list should follow the same grammatical structure. So I have active voice here, right? They built towns and traded throughout North Africa. This is active voice. But cloth was manufactured as passive voice, and I can't jut in a case of passive voice in a list that has active voice. So they built towns and villages, manufactured cloth and jewelry. So manufactured cloth, because and jewelry is not underlined. Manufactured cloth and jewelry and traded throughout North Africa and the Mediterranean. They also grew a variety of crops, including wheat, dates, palms, grapes, figs, and melons. If the writer were to delete the preceding sentence, the paragraph would primarily lose a concluding statement that suggests the Garamantes were successful farmers in that they grew a variety of crops, summarizes the information presented about the Garamantes, indicates the products that the Garamantes exported to Rome, takes the focus of the Garamantes and places it on the products they imported. So it's F, right? Because I'm saying that they were businessmen, they were architects, right? But they also were farmers because they grew all these crops. So that brings out the fact that they were successful farmers. This last sentence is not a summary of what has been presented. It's new information. It's we do not know if these products were exported to Rome. So H is beyond the scope, and J is also wrong. The survival of their civilization depended on hundreds of miles of underground tunnels. These tunnels carried water to desert settlements from an aquifer, an underground water source uh, in the distant mountains. Which choice provides new information to the essay? Okay, so it's new information. So they carried water from an aquifer in the distant mountains. So obviously the fact that they depended on it is not new. It was used by Garamantes. Yeah, so none of these is new. So new information is option A, that the aquifer was located in the distant mountains. The water ran through sloping hand-dug tunnels called fugaras, which could be as deep as 130 feet below ground. These tunnels were connected to the surface by ventilation shafts every 30 feet or so. Which choice best indicates the method used to build the tunnels? So it is hand dug, right? They were built by hand. So the fact that they were underground, dimly lit, or they were in the desert, that's not relevant to building the tunnels, right? So hand dug is correct. The water ran through sloping hand dug tunnels, which were connected to the surface by ventilation shafts every 30 feet or so. When the tunnels reached a town or field, the water flowed um, into more easy accessible surface canals or reservoirs. Into So the water flowed into easy and accessible, right? More easy is simply grammatically wrong because I can say easier. But why am I saying easier? I'm not because I'm not comparing anything here, right? I'm just saying that it came through underground tunnels, and when the tunnels reached the town, the water was accessible through canals. Um, I'm just trying to think. So obviously A and B are out. The water flowed into, yeah, so I don't think I can say easier because the comparison between a surface canal, uh, am I trying to compare the surface canals to the underground tunnels here? I think so, right? I am trying to compare surface canals with tunnels. I would say easier. Yeah. It's a little odd the way this sentence is written, right? I mean, the water flowed into, I could have just said, okay. So I'll stick with C for now, but I have a feeling D is the right answer. When the tunnels reached a town or field, the water flowed into easy and accessible. Yeah, I think I'll go with D. I don't like C. I don't think the comparison is made there. Having left no clues, archaeologists don't know how the Garamantis learned to build fogaras. Uh, yeah, so that I don't need to say that. First of all, this makes it sound that the archaeologists have left no clues, right? Because this is a modifier for archaeologists. So that's wrong. Genuine puzzle to scientists, giving no indication. All of these are modifier mistakes, right? Because this makes it sound the archaeologists are a puzzle, right? So just put J. Archaeologists don't know how the Garamantis learned to build fogaras. Other such tunnels exist in Iran, Algeria, Tunisia, and elsewhere. Because the canals were underground, the water they carried stayed clean and didn't evaporate. And because the water came from an aquifer rather than from rainfall. So first of all, I need THAN, dan, and I need to say for after that because it came from something rather than from something else. So rather than from rainfall, the supply was unaffected by drought. The Garamantis could rely on a constant supply, right? Could rely. Okay, this print is really bad. It's hard to read. So let's see if we'll do other parts of this test. The Garamantis could rely on constant supply of water for drinking, washing, and irrigation. Moreover, the cold, damp air of the fogaras lowered the temperature inside the homes that were built over them, resulting in an ancient form of air conditioning. Yeah, so this is moreover is fine because I'm saying that they relied on this water supply. And apart from that, the cold air of the Fukara. So this is an additional point. So moreover is fine. These are all contrasting connectors, so they don't make sense here. The Garamantis thrived until about 500 CE when some archaeologists believe they began to deplete the aquifer. So this who is not needed, right? Because this is fine as it is when some archaeologists believe. So I can delete this underlined portion. The Garamantis thrived until about 500 CE when some archaeologists believe they began to deplete the aquifer. As the Fugara supplied less and less water, the Garamantis population declined. Okay. So as the Fugaras, right? So it's a reason, right? So as is correct. As the Fugaras supplied less and less water, the Garamantis population declined. Yeah, so none of these are correct. Their civilization eventually collapsed. So here again, I need to have a new sentence. So I'll put a full stop, right? Their civilization eventually collapsed. However, at least 600 of the ancient Fogaras survive. The stone mounds that mark their ventilation shafts are still visible in what is now southwestern Libya, where they can be seen even now. That's repetitive, a place where visitors can see these amazing signs of an ancient civilization. So that's, again, I think these are repetitive, right? These are repetitive options. This, because obviously, they are still visible, so they can be seen. Yeah, so you can just delete this underlined portion. Okay, question 30. Suppose the writer's primary purpose had been to present information about a civilization's efforts to overcome a natural obstacle in order to survive. Would this essay accomplish that purpose? Yes, I would say yes, because it shows how they built these fogaras to get water supply into a desert. So option F, it explains the Garamantes traded throughout. That's not relevant. Yes, because it describes the Garamantes method of bringing water to an otherwise dry area, allowing the Garamantes to thrive there. So G is a good answer. I'm sure of G, but I'm just going to read H and J for the reasoning that they present. No, because the Fogaras were not naturally occurring tunnels. So that's obviously Because they were not naturally occurring tunnels and the Garamantis built them, this is a yes answer. So this is wrong. No, because the Fogaras ultimately led to the downfall. That doesn't make any sense. So it is G. Okay, let's grade the first two passages. I have the answer key here. Okay. So we have to go till number 30, right? 1 second. Yeah. CHBHC. Where is it? Oh, sorry. 1 second. Yeah. CHBHC. FAGAH. FAGAH. 11th DGBJA. D. Yeah, G. I meant G. I haven't marked it though. DGBJA. 16 JCFAF. JCFAF. 21 BJBHA. Oh, right. Okay, yeah. This, obviously, this, I was thinking that it's written odd because that is supposed to be an adverb, right? Water flowed into more easily accessible surface canals, right? I completely missed that. That is why the sentence was reading odd, because you need to say, so easy was the adverb for accessible. The canals, surface canals were more easily accessible. Yeah, right. Okay. 22nd, JBHAJ, JBHAJ. 27 is AHDG, AHD and G. Okay, so apart from that question, we got all correct. Hope this was useful. I want to do all the solutions for this paper, but the print is really bad. So if any of you has a better print, let me know and I'll work with that. Otherwise, I think I'll work on some other paper because it's kind of hard to read this one. I've uploaded video solutions for this year's ACT and SAT tests. So make sure to check those out. I'll link to them in the description box. I'll see you guys in a new video soon. Take care. Bye-bye.